The chapel smelled like dying roses and broken promises. Samantha Whitlock stood at the altar alone, her white dress a monument to her own stupidity. The lace train that had taken 6 seamstresses 3 weeks to perfect now dragged through scattered petals and dirt tracked in by guests who had already left. Her hands, still clutching the wilted bouquet, had gone numb an hour ago. He wasn't coming. Jason wasn't coming. The realization didn't crash over her like a wave, it seeped in slowly, cold and paralyzing, like poison through her veins. Around her, the Silver Pine Pack's remaining members shifted in their seats, their whispers no longer even attempting subtlety. "Did you see her face when the beta came out instead of Jason? I heard he left town this morning. Didn't even have the guts to tell her himself. Poor thing. Imagine being so unwanted your own mate runs away." Before we continue, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And, if you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor and hit that button right now. Trust me, you're going to want to be here for every twist in this journey. Now, let's dive in. Samantha's wolf whimpered inside her chest, a sound so pitiful it made her want to claw out of her own skin. The mate bond that had once hummed between her and Jason like a living thing now felt severed, raw, a phantom limb that wouldn't stop aching. Her father, Alpha Whitlock, hadn't even stayed. He'd left 20 minutes ago with her mother, their embarrassment too thick to mask. "Duty calls," he'd said, but his eyes had told the truth. "You've humiliated us enough." Samantha. The voice belonged to Claire, her supposed best friend, though the pity dripping from that single word made Samantha want to scream. Claire stood in the aisle, her bridesmaid dress perfect, her makeup unsmudged, her life devastatingly intact. "You should probably, leave. People are starting to talk." Starting? Samantha's laugh came out strangled. Starting to talk? "Claire, they've been talking for the past 2 hours. "I know, but," Claire glanced around nervously. This is really awkward. For everyone. Awkward. Her wedding, her life, reduced to an uncomfortable social situation. Something inside Samantha cracked. Not broke. Breaking would have been clean. This was a splintering, a fracturing into 1,000 pieces that would never fit back together the same way. She dropped the bouquet. It hit the floor with a pathetic thud. "You're right," Samantha whispered. "I should go." She walked down the aisle alone, every step echoing in the cavernous space. The few remaining wolves avoided her eyes, their discomfort a living thing that followed her to the chapel doors. Outside, the autumn air bit at her exposed skin, but she barely felt it. Her car sat in the parking lot, decorated with tin cans and a just married banner that now felt like a cruel joke. She ripped the banner off with shaking hands, the sound of tearing paper oddly satisfying. Inside the car, silence pressed down on her like a weight. Samantha pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling so badly she nearly dropped it twice. 17 missed calls. 43 messages. None from Jason. The messages were a mix of pity, curiosity, and thinly veiled satisfaction from wolves who'd never liked her much to begin with. She deleted them all without reading, her vision blurring. Then she opened a new message. Her fingers moved before her brain could stop them, muscle memory typing in the number she'd called 1,000 times. The number that should have been her future. "I hope you're happy. I hope whoever, was worth more than me gives you everything you wanted. Because I gave you everything I had, and it still wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. And now everyone knows it. You didn't just leave me at the altar, Jason. You destroyed me in front of our entire pack. You made me a joke. A cautionary tale. The girl so unlovable her own mate ran away. I'll never forgive you for this. Never." She hit send before the tears could blind her completely. The message delivered with a soft whoosh. Samantha let her phone fall to the passenger seat and pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, finally letting the sobs come. They tore out of her in waves, ugly and raw and utterly without dignity. Her wolf howled inside her, a sound of pure anguish that no one else could hear. She didn't know how long she cried. Long enough for the sun to start setting. Long enough for the parking lot to empty completely. Long enough for the phone to buzz. Once. Twice. 3 times. Samantha lifted her head, wiping at her face with the back of her hand. Mascara and tears stained her white gloves black. She grabbed her phone, expecting, she didn't know what. Maybe Jason had grown a conscience. Maybe he'd finally decided to explain. The number on the screen wasn't Jason's. Her blood went cold. Unknown number, you have the wrong person. Unknown number, but I think I have exactly the right one. Unknown number, don't move. I'm coming for you. Samantha stared at the messages, her mind refusing to process the words. Wrong number. She'd sent that devastating, humiliating confession to a stranger. Her fingers flew across the screen. Samantha, I'm so sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. Please delete it and forget you ever saw it. The response came immediately. Unknown number, no. Unknown number, what's your location? Samantha, what? No. Who is this? Unknown number, someone who knows what it feels like to be unwanted. Someone who smells the bond in every word you wrote. And someone who's about to show your pack what happens when they discard something precious. Unknown number, last chance. Location. Now. Samantha's heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. This person was insane. She should block the number, drive home, lock herself in her room and pretend this nightmare of a day never happened. But something in those messages, the certainty, the barely contained rage, the word bond, made her fingers move. Samantha, Silver Pine Pack. Moonwater Territory. Northern Border. Samantha, but I'm leaving. You won't find me. Unknown number, I'll always find you. I could track you across continents now. Unknown number, stay. Please. That last word, please, stopped her hand on the ignition. Samantha sat frozen in her car as the sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of blood orange and deep purple. Her rational mind screamed at her to drive away, to run from this strange, intense conversation with someone who spoke like they already owned her. But her wolf had gone utterly still. Focused. Waiting. The feeling that crawled up Samantha's spine wasn't fear. It was recognition. The air pressure changed. Samantha felt it in her bones, a shift so profound it made her teeth ache. Then she smelled it, pine and winter storms and something ancient, something that made her wolf press forward against her skin with desperate need. Power. Raw, undeniable, terrifying power. Car doors began opening across the packed grounds. Wolves emerged from their homes, drawn by an instinct older than memory. The Silver Pine guards who'd been laughing near the gate were suddenly alert, their postures stiff with tension. Then Samantha saw them. 3 black SUVs rolling through the main gates like a funeral procession, sleek and silent and utterly out of place in their small territory. The lead vehicle stopped directly in front of the chapel. Samantha's breath caught. The rear door opened, and a man stepped out. No, not a man. An alpha. The kind of alpha that made other alphas look like puppies. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in black that seemed to drink in the dying light. His hair was dark, his face all sharp angles and brutal beauty. But it was his eyes that stopped Samantha's heart. Silver. Pure, molten silver that swept across the packed grounds with predatory focus until they locked directly onto her car. Onto her. The bond slammed into place with the force of a freight train. Samantha gasped, her hand flying to her chest as something fundamental shifted in her reality. The severed, aching place where Jason's bond had been suddenly flooded with molten gold, with certainty, with a connection so powerful it drove the air from her lungs. Mate. But that was impossible. She'd already had a mate. You didn't get to. That wasn't how this worked. The man, the alpha, began walking toward her car, his movements liquid grace and barely leashed violence. Wolves scattered from his path, their submission automatic and total. Even her father's beta, who'd delivered Jason's cowardly abandonment, had his head bowed so low his chin touched his chest. Samantha couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't do anything but watch as fate itself stalked toward her in a perfectly tailored suit. He stopped at her car door. Knocked once, gently, though the contained power in that single tap promised he could rip the door off its hinges without effort. Samantha's hand trembled as she opened it. The scent hit her fully then, home, her wolf whispered, safety, strength, OURS, and she had to grip the doorframe to keep from collapsing. Samantha Whitlock. His voice was midnight and smoke, wrapping around her name like a claim. I'm Aaron Thorne. Alpha King of the Northwestern Territories. The Alpha King. Samantha's mind reeled. The Alpha King was a legend, a ghost story, a ruler so powerful and so isolated that most wolves lived their entire lives without seeing him. He hadn't taken a mate in the 15 years of his reign. Hadn't even been seen at a pack gathering in over a decade. And he was standing in her pack's parking lot, looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. You texted me, Aaron said softly, though his eyes burned with something fierce and possessive. You sent me your pain, your heartbreak, your truth. And when I read those words, I felt the bond snap into place. Do you feel it? Samantha nodded, unable to speak. Good. His hand extended toward her, palm up, an offer. Then you know I'm not here by accident. I'm here because you're mine, Samantha. You were always meant to be mine. And anyone who made you feel unwanted, unloved, or less than precious is about to learn what happens when they touch what belongs to the Alpha King. Behind him, her pack watched in stunned silence. Claire's mouth hung open. The guards looked ready to bolt. And somewhere in the distance, Samantha could feel her father's shock rippling through the pack bonds. I don't understand, Samantha whispered. How is this possible? Aaron's smile was sharp enough to cut. Because Jason wasn't your true mate, Samantha. He was a placeholder. A test. And he failed spectacularly. His hand remained extended, steady and sure. I'm the real thing. The bond you were meant to have. And I'm done waiting. Now, Aaron continued, his voice dropping to something intimate despite their audience, you have a choice. You can stay here, with the pack that watched you suffer and did nothing. Or you can come with me, let me show you what it means to be cherished by someone who would burn down kingdoms before letting you cry alone in a parking lot. Samantha looked at his hand. At the power thrumming through him. At the certainty in those silver eyes that promised she would never, ever be unwanted again. The chapel loomed behind her, a monument to her humiliation. The Alpha King stood before her, offering a future she couldn't begin to imagine. What happens if I take your hand? Samantha asked. Aaron's smile turned predatory and tender all at once. Then the real story begins. Samantha's fingers trembled as they touched Aaron's palm. The moment their skin made contact, electricity jolted through her, sharp, bright, alive. Nothing like the lukewarm comfort she'd felt with Jason. This was fire and lightning and coming home all at once. Her wolf surged forward with a possessive snarl that should have terrified her but instead felt like finally waking up. Aaron's hand closed around hers, warm and calloused and completely steady. He pulled her gently from the car, and Samantha realized she was still wearing her wedding dress, the symbol of her deepest shame now on display for the Alpha King. I look ridiculous, she whispered, cheeks burning. You look like someone who survived. Aaron's thumb brushed across her knuckles, the gesture surprisingly tender from someone who radiated such lethal power. There's nothing ridiculous about that. Around them, the Silver Pine pack remained frozen in various states of shock. Samantha caught sight of her father finally emerging from the pack house, his alpha presence usually so commanding now utterly dwarfed by Aaron's. Alpha Whitlock's face had gone pale, his eyes wide with something between awe and terror. Alpha King Thorn, her father said, his voice admirably steady despite the obvious fear. We had no idea you were, this is unexpected. If we'd known you were coming. You'd what? Aaron's voice was silk over steel. Treated your daughter better? Not allowed her humiliation to become pack entertainment? His silver eyes never left Samantha's father. I heard the whispers before I even arrived. Felt the shame you let soak into her bones. Samantha's father flinched. Good. Jason Blackwood rejected her, Aaron continued, each word precise and cutting. Your daughter's maid abandoned her at the altar, and instead of protecting her, you left. You prioritized your embarrassment over her pain. I didn't know what to. Jason is the beta's son, there are politics. Politics. Aaron's laugh was dark and humorless. You chose politics over your own child. Samantha had never heard anyone speak to her father this way. Alpha Whitlock was respected, feared even, within their territory. But standing next to Aaron, he looked small. Weak. He was weak, her wolf whispered. He was always weak. We just couldn't see it before. Samantha, her father started, finally looking at her. You don't have to leave. This is your home. We can work through this. Now you care? The words burst from Samantha before she could stop them. Now that the Alpha King is standing in your parking lot, suddenly I'm worth paying attention to? Her father's mouth opened, closed. No words came. I asked you to stay, Samantha continued, her voice shaking but growing stronger with each word. When you left the chapel, I begged you not to go. And you looked at me like I was an inconvenience. Like my pain was something you had to schedule around. Samantha, I had meetings. You had a daughter who needed you. The tears came hot and fast, but these weren't tears of weakness. These were rage. And you chose your pride over me. Just like Jason did. Aaron's hand tightened around hers, grounding her, supporting her. She could feel his approval through the bond, could sense his wolf satisfaction at her strength. Claire, Samantha turned to her former best friend, who stood frozen near the chapel steps. You told me I was making things awkward. That I should leave because people were uncomfortable. Claire's perfectly made-up face crumpled. Samantha, I didn't mean. You did. You meant exactly that. Samantha felt something cold and final settle in her chest. You've been jealous of me since Jason and I announced our engagement. Don't think I didn't notice the way you looked at him. The way you always found reasons to touch his arm, laugh at his jokes. Claire's face went scarlet. That's not. Did you know? The question came out quiet, deadly. Did you know he was going to leave me? The silence that followed was answer enough. Samantha's wolf snarled, and she felt Aaron's power rise in response, protective and fierce. Claire stumbled backward, genuine fear crossing her face. I didn't, he said he was confused, that he needed time, I thought he'd talk to you. But he didn't. Samantha's voice was flat now, empty of the friendship that had once been there. He ran. And you said nothing. I'm sorry, Claire whispered, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Samantha. Samantha wanted to believe her. Part of her, the part that had shared secrets and dreams with Claire since they were children, desperately wanted to forgive her. But the larger part, the part that had spent 2 hours standing alone at an altar while her best friend watched, couldn't. I don't care, Samantha said finally. I don't care about your apology or your guilt or whatever you're feeling right now. You made your choice. Live with it. She turned back to Aaron, who was watching her with something like pride burning in his silver eyes. Take me away from here, Samantha said. Please. Aaron's smile was gentle, but his eyes promised violence to anyone who tried to stop them. It would be my honor. He led her toward the SUV, his hand never leaving hers. The pack parted before them like water, no one daring to meet the Alpha King's gaze. Samantha should have felt ashamed, should have felt something about leaving her home, her pack, her entire life behind. Instead, she felt free. Aaron opened the SUV door for her, his movements courtly despite the raw power thrumming through him. Before she stepped inside, he turned to address the assembled wolves one final time. "Samantha Whitlock is under my protection now," Aaron announced, his voice carrying across the pack grounds with alpha command. "Anyone who speaks against her, spreads rumors about her, or attempts to contact her with anything less than genuine respect will answer to me personally. Am I understood?" The chorus of "Yes, Alpha King" was immediate and terrified. Aaron's eyes found Alpha Whitlock. "And you? You have 48 hours to deliver Jason Blackwood to my territory. He owes Samantha answers, and I intend to make sure she gets them." Samantha's father bowed his head in submission. "Of course, Alpha King." As Samantha settled into the luxury vehicle, she caught one last glimpse of the chapel through the tinted window. The place where her old life had died. Aaron slid in beside her, and the door closed with a quiet click. "Where are we going?" Samantha asked. Aaron's hand found hers again in the darkness. "Home," he said simply. "My home. If you'll have it." Samantha looked at their joined hands, at the bond glowing gold and warm between them, at the stranger who'd become her fate in the span of a single devastating text message. "I don't even know you," she whispered. "Then let me tell you," Aaron replied, his voice soft with a vulnerability that seemed at odds with his power. "Let me show you who I am. Who we could be." The SUV began to move, carrying her away from everything she'd ever known. And for the first time in hours, Samantha felt something other than pain. She felt possibility. The drive took 3 hours. 3 hours of silence broken only by the hum of the engine and Aaron's occasional phone calls, each conducted in a low voice that still managed to command absolute authority. Samantha watched the landscape change through the window, familiar forests giving way to wilder terrain, mountains rising like ancient guardians in the distance. She should have been terrified. Should have questioned the insanity of leaving with a stranger, Alpha King or not. But the bond hummed between them, steady and sure, and her wolf had never been more certain of anything. "Tell me about Jason," Aaron said finally, breaking the comfortable quiet. Samantha's stomach twisted. "Why?" "Because I need to understand what kind of fool walks away from his mate." Aaron's jaw tightened. "And because when I see him in 48 hours, I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with." Samantha drew her knees up, the wedding dress bunching awkwardly around her. "We grew up together. He was the beta's son, I was the alpha's daughter. Everyone always said we'd end up together." She laughed bitterly. "Guess they were wrong." "When did the mate bond form?" 6 months ago. At the winter solstice celebration. Samantha remembered that night with painful clarity, the way Jason's eyes had changed when he'd looked at her, the golden thread snapping into place between them. He seemed happy about it. Excited, even. He proposed 2 weeks later. Aaron's hand found hers in the darkness. "And you felt the bond too? Truly?" Samantha hesitated. That was the question that had been gnawing at her, wasn't it? "I thought so. It was there, the connection, the pull. But it never felt." She struggled for words. "Consuming?" Aaron offered quietly. "Like you'd burn the world down to keep them safe? Like breathing isn't quite right when they're not near?" "Yes," Samantha whispered. "It never felt like that. Because he wasn't your true mate." Aaron's thumb traced circles on her palm. "Some bonds are compatible. Close enough to real that they can be mistaken for fate. But they're not the same. What you had with Jason was a shadow. This," he lifted their joined hands, "this is real." The SUV turned onto a private road, passing through gates that opened automatically. Samantha's breath caught. The estate sprawled before them like something from a dream. Not a traditional pack house, but a modern masterpiece of glass and stone built into the mountainside. Lights glowed from within, warm and welcoming despite the building's imposing size. You live here alone? Samantha asked. Mostly. I have staff, security. But I prefer solitude. Aaron's voice carried an edge of loneliness that made her chest ache. It's easier that way. Easier than what? Than wanting something I thought I'd never have. The SUV stopped in front of massive wooden doors. Aaron exited first, then offered his hand to help Samantha out. Her legs had gone stiff from the drive, and she stumbled slightly on the train of her dress. Aaron caught her effortlessly, his hands warm on her waist. For a moment, they stood frozen, close enough that Samantha could see flecks of darker silver in his eyes, could feel the heat radiating from his body. I've got you, he murmured. I'll always catch you. The doors opened before they could move apart. A woman stood in the entrance, older, elegant, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her power marked her as a high-ranking wolf, though she submitted immediately to Aaron's presence. Alpha King, she said smoothly, then her gaze shifted to Samantha. And this must be our guest. Vera, this is Samantha Whitlock. My mate. Aaron's voice carried unmistakable pride. Samantha, this is Vera Cross, my head of household. Vera's eyes widened fractionally, the first crack in her composed exterior. Your mate, my lord? But you said you'd never, she caught herself, bowing deeply. Forgive me. Welcome, Miss Whitlock. We're honored to have you. Just Samantha, please, Samantha said, suddenly aware of how she must look, bedraggled in a ruined wedding dress, mascara stained, a complete mess. Vera, please have the guest suite prepared. And send for the pack physician. Aaron's hand remained on Samantha's lower back, protective. Samantha's had a difficult day. I'm fine, Samantha protested. You're in shock, Aaron corrected gently. You're running on adrenaline and hurt. Let me take care of you. Something in his tone, the quiet certainty, the genuine concern, made Samantha's defenses crumble. She nodded, too exhausted to argue. Vera disappeared with swift efficiency. Aaron led Samantha through the entrance into a soaring great room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a moonlit valley. The space was masculine but not cold, rich woods, dark leather, and the kind of understated luxury that came from centuries of power. This way, Aaron said, guiding her up a curved staircase. The guest suite was larger than Samantha's entire bedroom at home. A king-sized bed dominated the space, made up in soft grays and blues. An ensuite bathroom gleamed with marble and chrome. And on the bed lay clothes, women's clothes, still tagged. How did you? I called ahead. Aaron moved to the bathroom, starting the shower. Steam began to fill the space. I guessed your size. If anything doesn't fit, Vera will adjust it. Samantha stared at him. You did all this while we were driving? I've spent 15 years alone, Samantha. 15 years convinced I'd never find my true mate, that I was broken somehow. Aaron turned to face her, and the vulnerability in his expression stole her breath. Then I read your message, felt the bond snap into place, and everything changed. So yes, I made calls. I prepared. Because I knew the moment I found you, I'd do whatever it took to make you feel safe. Why? The question came out broken. Why me? You don't even know me. I know you're strong enough to stand alone at an altar even when you're breaking inside. Aaron crossed to her slowly, giving her time to step away. She didn't. I know you have enough courage to get in a car with a stranger because your wolf recognized what your heart needed. I know you're loyal, you gave Jason everything even when the bond wasn't quite right. And I know you deserve someone who sees your value. His hand came up, hesitating an inch from her face. May I? Samantha nodded, and Aaron's fingers brushed her cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Take a shower. Rest. Tomorrow we'll talk about everything, about us, about Jason, about what happens next. Aaron's voice dropped to something almost tender. But tonight, you're safe. I promise you that. He left before Samantha could respond, the door clicking shut behind him with finality. Samantha stood alone in the luxurious suite, her reflection catching in the bathroom mirror. She looked like a ghost, pale, hollow-eyed, still wearing the dress that represented her greatest humiliation. But as she stripped it off and stepped under the scalding water, letting it wash away the day's tears and pain, she felt something shift. The bond with Aaron pulsed warm and golden in her chest. Real. Undeniable. And for the first time since Jason had abandoned her, Samantha let herself feel something other than heartbreak. She felt anger. Jason owed her answers. And in 48 hours, with the Alpha King at her side, she was going to get them. Whatever the truth was, however dark the reasons for his betrayal, Samantha was done being the victim in someone else's story. It was time to write her own. Samantha woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee drifting from somewhere below. For a blissful moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back, the wedding, Jason's abandonment, the wrong number text, Aaron's silver eyes promising her everything she'd never dared to want. She sat up, her body aching in places she hadn't known could hurt. The emotional toll of yesterday had manifested physically, tight shoulders, a headache pulsing behind her eyes, a bone-deep exhaustion that sleep hadn't quite erased. The clothes Aaron had provided fit perfectly. Soft black leggings, an oversized cream sweater that felt like being wrapped in clouds. Samantha caught her reflection in the mirror, she looked softer somehow, younger without the weight of pack expectations pressing down on her shoulders. A knock at the door made her jump. "Come in," she called, expecting Vera. Aaron entered carrying a tray laden with breakfast, fresh fruit, pastries, scrambled eggs, and that coffee she'd smelled. He'd changed from last night's suit into dark jeans and a fitted black Henley that did absolutely nothing to hide the powerful lines of his body. "You didn't have to do this," Samantha said, flustered. "I wanted to." Aaron set the tray on the small table by the window. "How did you sleep?" "Better than expected, considering." Samantha moved to the table, her stomach growling traitorously at the sight of food. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning, a lifetime ago. "This is too much. Eat what you want. Leave the rest." Aaron poured her coffee, adding cream without asking. Somehow, he'd gotten it exactly right. "We need to talk about what happens next." Samantha's appetite vanished. "Jason." Among other things. Aaron sat across from her, his presence filling the space without overwhelming it. "Your father will deliver him within the next 48 hours. When he arrives, you'll have a choice, you can see him or not. This is entirely your decision." "I want answers," Samantha said immediately. "I need to know why." "Even if the truth hurts?" "The not knowing hurts worse." Samantha forced herself to eat a strawberry. "What do you think happened? Why would someone run from their mate?" Aaron's expression darkened. "In my experience? Fear, obligation, or..." He hesitated. "Or what? Or it wasn't really his choice." Samantha's hand froze halfway to her mouth. "What does that mean?" "It means the timing is suspicious." Aaron leaned forward, his alpha instincts clearly engaged. "You said the bond formed 6 months ago." He proposed quickly, seemed happy. "Then suddenly, on your wedding day, he disappears without explanation?" "That's not cold feet, Samantha. That's something else." "You think someone made him leave?" The idea seemed impossible, but a small part of her, the part that had known Jason since childhood, whispered that it made sense. "Who would do that?" "That's what we're going to find out." Aaron's hand covered hers on the table. "But I need you to prepare yourself. The answers might not be what you expect." Before Samantha could respond, her phone buzzed. She'd left it charging overnight, and now notifications flooded in, dozens of messages, missed calls, voicemails. Most from numbers she didn't recognize. "Word travels fast," Aaron said dryly, Samantha scrolled through the messages, her stomach churning with each one. Claire, please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Pack member, is it true? You're with the Alpha King? Another pack member, your father is furious. What did you do? Then one that made her blood run cold. Unknown number, you made a mistake leaving. Come home before you embarrass yourself further. Jason. Samantha's hands shook. Aaron was beside her in an instant, reading over her shoulder. His growl vibrated through the room, making the windows rattle. He has some nerve, Aaron snarled. After what he did, he dares. He thinks I'm going to come crawling back. Samantha's voice was hollow. He thinks I'm so desperate that I'll forgive him. What do you want to do? Samantha looked up at Aaron, at the barely contained rage on his behalf, at the way he'd asked what she wanted instead of telling her what to do. Jason had never done that. Her father had never done that. I want to respond, Samantha said slowly. I want him to know I'm not the same girl he left at that altar. Aaron's smile was sharp and approving. Then respond. Samantha's fingers flew across the screen. Samantha, I didn't make a mistake. You did. And in 48 hours, when you're standing in front of me and the Alpha King, you're going to explain exactly why. Don't bother apologizing. Just bring the truth. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The response came within seconds. Jason, the Alpha King? Samantha, what have you done? You don't understand what you're getting into. Samantha, no, Jason. You don't understand what you've gotten into. See you soon. Samantha blocked the number, her heart pounding. She felt powerful, fierce, everything she'd never allowed herself to be in Silverpine. Proud of you, Aaron murmured, and the genuine warmth in his voice made her chest tight. I've never stood up to him like that, Samantha admitted. I was always trying to be perfect, to be enough. Maybe if I'd been stronger, he wouldn't have. Don't. Aaron's voice was firm but gentle. His choices aren't your fault. His weakness isn't your burden to carry. How are you so sure? Samantha turned to face him fully. How do you know I wasn't the problem? Because I can feel you through the bond, Samantha. Your strength, your loyalty, your capacity for love. Aaron's hand came up to cup her cheek. Jason was a fool. But his loss is my gain, and I'm not fool enough to waste this gift. The air between them crackled with tension, not the uncomfortable kind, but the magnetic pull of two souls recognizing each other. Samantha found herself leaning closer, drawn by something deeper than conscious thought. Aaron, she whispered. This is happening so fast. I know. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. We can go as slow as you need. But I won't pretend I don't feel this. I won't lie and say I'm not completely gone for you already. You don't even know me, Samantha protested weakly, even as her wolf howled with satisfaction. Then let me learn. Aaron's voice dropped to something intimate, reverent. Let me discover every piece of you, what makes you laugh, what makes you angry, what you dream about when you think no one's listening. I have time, Samantha. All the time in the world. A phone rang, shattering the moment. Aaron pulled back with visible reluctance, answering with a curt, "What?" His expression shifted as he listened, going cold and dangerous. When? A pause. And you're certain? Another pause, longer this time. Keep him contained. I'm on my way. He hung up, his silver eyes finding Samantha's with an intensity that stole her breath. What happened? She asked. Your father just arrived. Early. And he brought Jason with him. Aaron's smile was all teeth and promised violence. Apparently, your ex-mate is eager to explain himself. Samantha's heart hammered against her ribs. I'm not ready. You don't have to see him yet, Aaron assured her. But Samantha? When you do, I'll be right beside you. And he'll answer every question you have, or he'll answer to me. Samantha stood, squaring her shoulders. The scared girl who'd stood alone at that altar was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who had the Alpha King himself willing to go to war for her. No, she said firmly. I want to see him now. I want answers. And I want him to see exactly what he lost. Aaron's expression blazed with pride and something darker, more possessive. Then let's go remind him what a true mate looks like. Jason looked smaller than Samantha remembered. He stood in Aaron's study flanked by two of the Alpha King's guards, his usual confidence stripped away, replaced by something that looked uncomfortably like fear. His dark hair was disheveled, his eyes bloodshot, and when he saw Samantha enter the room with Aaron at her side, he actually flinched. Good. Alpha Whitlock stood near the window, looking equally diminished in Aaron's territory. Her father's eyes met hers briefly before sliding away, unable to hold her gaze. Samantha, Jason started, his voice cracking. Thank the goddess, you're safe. When I heard you'd left with... Don't. The word came out sharp as a blade. Samantha stepped forward, feeling Aaron's presence solid and steady behind her. Don't pretend you were worried about me. You lost that right when you abandoned me at the altar. Jason's face crumpled. I can explain. Then explain. Samantha crossed her arms, her wolf prowling just beneath her skin. Tell me why your mate, the woman you claimed to love, wasn't worth a conversation. Wasn't worth the truth. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. Aaron's voice was soft silk over steel. Now. Jason's eyes darted between them, desperate. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice, Samantha said coldly. Not when your life is threatened. The words burst from Jason like a confession torn from his chest. Not when they tell you that if you go through with the wedding, they'll kill you and everyone you love. The room went deathly silent. Samantha's world tilted. What? Jason's hands shook as he ran them through his hair. 3 days before the wedding, I received a message. Anonymous. They said if I married you, they'd slaughter my entire family. My parents, my sister, everyone. They sent proof, photos of my sister at school, my mother at the market. They were watching us, Samantha. They could get to anyone, anytime. That's impossible, Alpha Whitlock said, his voice tight. No one would dare threaten Abeda's family in my territory. Wouldn't they? Aaron's eyes narrowed dangerously. Tell me, Jason, what did this message say exactly? Jason pulled out his phone with trembling fingers, pulled up a screenshot, and handed it to Aaron. Samantha moved closer, reading over his shoulder. The bond between Jason Blackwood and Samantha Whitlock must not be completed. Leave her at the altar. Humiliate her publicly. Make sure she's rejected so thoroughly that she'll never recover. Do this, and your family lives. Refuse, and everyone you love dies screaming. We're always watching. Samantha's breath caught. Why? The question came out broken. Why would someone want me humiliated? What did I do? You did nothing, Aaron said grimly, his eyes still scanning the message. But someone wanted you broken. Wanted you isolated and vulnerable. His gaze shifted to Jason with contempt. So you followed their instructions exactly. Didn't warn her, didn't try to find another way. Just destroyed her to save yourself. I was trying to protect my family. Jason's voice rose defensively. What would you have done? I would have told my mate the truth, Aaron growled. I would have fought beside her instead of abandoning her. I would have died before letting her stand alone thinking she wasn't enough. Jason paled. I didn't know what else to do. You could have trusted me, Samantha whispered, and the betrayal in her voice made Jason wince. We were supposed to be mates, Jason. You should have come to me. I was scared. So was I. Samantha's composure shattered. I stood in that chapel for 2 hours convinced I was so unlovable my own mate ran away. Do you know what that did to me? How many wolves whispered that I wasn't good enough, wasn't pretty enough, wasn't enough? Tears streamed down Jason's face. I'm sorry. God, Samantha, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Samantha turned to Aaron, her mind racing. Someone orchestrated this. Someone wanted me destroyed. The question is why? Aaron handed the phone to one of his guards. Trace that number. Find out who sent this message and where it originated. There's more, Jason said quietly. The message came with a warning. They said if I ever told anyone, especially you, Samantha, they'd know. They said they had eyes everywhere. They were bluffing, Alpha Whitlock said dismissively. No one has that kind of network. Don't they? Aaron's expression was deadly serious. Someone knew exactly when and where to strike. They knew Jason's weaknesses, knew how to manipulate him. This wasn't random, Whitlock. This was planned. Samantha's mind spun with implications. But I'm nobody. I'm just an alpha's daughter from a small pack. Why would anyone care enough to? She stopped. Looked at Aaron. At the bond glowing bright and true between them. Unless they knew, Samantha breathed. Unless they knew about the true mate bond. Aaron's eyes widened fractionally, the first time she'd seen him genuinely surprised. That's impossible. I didn't even know about you until yesterday. But what if someone else did? Samantha's thoughts raced, pieces clicking together. What if someone knew you had a true mate out there and wanted to break her before you found her? The room fell silent as everyone processed the implications. That would mean someone's been watching you, Aaron said slowly. 4 months. Maybe years. Waiting for the signs of a mate bond to appear so they could destroy it. Who would do that? Jason asked. Who benefits from keeping the Alpha King mateless? Aaron's expression went ice cold. Someone who wants my throne. Someone who knows that a true mate makes an Alpha King nearly invincible. His silver eyes found Samantha's. But it also makes him vulnerable. Because now I have something I'd burn the world to protect. Samantha's blood ran cold. So by rejecting Jason, by being broken and alone, you would have been an easy target, Aaron finished grimly. Isolated, vulnerable, your wolf damaged by rejection. And when I finally found you, if I found you, you might have been too broken to accept the bond. Or worse, you could have been used against me. This is insane, Alpha Whitlock said. You're talking about a conspiracy that spans months, involves multiple territories. I'm talking about someone who's willing to destroy innocent lives to gain power, Aaron cut him off. And they made one critical mistake. What's that? Samantha asked. Aaron's hand found hers, his touch warm and grounding. They underestimated you. They thought public humiliation would break you. Instead, it led you straight to me. His smile was sharp and dangerous. Now we're bonded, aware of the threat, and extremely motivated to find whoever orchestrated this. My family, Jason said urgently. If this is real, if there's really someone watching. They're already under my protection, Aaron assured him. The moment you arrived, I had guards dispatched to your parents and sister. No one touches them. Jason looked like he might collapse with relief. Thank you, Alpha King. Don't thank me yet. Aaron's voice went hard. You still humiliated my mate. You still chose to protect yourself instead of trusting her with the truth. That debt isn't paid. I understand, Jason said quietly, bowing his head. Samantha looked at the man who'd been her almost husband, and felt nothing. No love, no hate, just a distant sense of closure. I forgive you, she said finally. Jason's head snapped up, hope blazing in his eyes. Not because you deserve it. But because holding on to anger gives whoever's behind this exactly what they want, my pain, my weakness. I refuse to give them that power. She turned to Aaron. We need to find who sent that message. We will, Aaron promised, his voice dropping to something intimate despite their audience. And when we do, they'll learn what happens when someone threatens what's mine. The possessiveness in his tone should have bothered her. Instead, it made her wolf purr with satisfaction. Samantha Whitlock had been broken at an altar, humiliated before her pack, manipulated by unseen enemies. But she wasn't broken anymore. She was the Alpha King's true mate. And together, they were going to hunt down whoever had tried to destroy her. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of investigation and rising dread. Aaron's guards traced the threatening message to a burner phone purchased with cash in a city 300 miles away. Dead end. The photos sent to Jason had metadata stripped, professionally done. Another dead end. Whoever was behind this knew how to cover their tracks. Samantha spent her days in Aaron's study, poring over Pack Alliance records, territorial disputes, anyone who might have a grudge against the Alpha King. The nights were harder, alone in her suite, the bond with Aaron pulling at her, wanting comfort she wasn't ready to fully accept. On the third night, everything changed. Samantha woke to chaos. Alarms blared through the estate, red emergency lights strobing in the hallway. She stumbled from bed, heart hammering, reaching instinctively for the bond with Aaron. It pulsed with fury and fear, a combination that terrified her. She yanked open her door to find Vera rushing past. What's happening? Samantha demanded. Attack on the Blackwood residence, Vera said tersely. Jason's family. Stay in your room and lock. But Samantha was already running, following the bond like a lifeline. She found Aaron in the command center, surrounded by screens showing tactical feeds. His face was carved from stone, his alpha presence so intense it made the air thick. How many? He barked into a phone. Aaron, Samantha said. His head snapped toward her, and the relief that flashed across his face was almost painful. You should be in your room. What happened? They hit the safe house where we relocated Jason's family. Aaron's jaw clenched. Professional. Coordinated. They killed 4 of my guards and took Jason's sister, Lily. Samantha's stomach dropped. Took her? Left a message. Aaron pulled up a photo on the screen. Words spray painted across the safe house wall in red, the bond dies or the girl dies. You have 48 hours. No, Samantha whispered. No, this is because of me. They took her because someone is escalating, Aaron cut in, moving to her side. This isn't your fault, Samantha. Isn't it? Her voice cracked. Jason rejected me to save his family, and now they've taken Lily anyway. Because of our bond. Because I'm with you. Which means whoever's behind this wants to separate us, Aaron said firmly. They want you to run, to reject the bond out of guilt. Don't give them what they want. A commotion at the door made them both turn. Jason burst in, his face ravaged with panic and rage. Where is she? He roared. Where's my sister? We're tracking them, Aaron said, his voice steady despite the storm in his eyes. Every available resource. It's not enough. Jason grabbed Aaron's shirt, a suicidal move that had guards reaching for weapons. They have Lily. My baby sister is out there with those monsters because you couldn't protect her. Jason, don't, Samantha started. This is your fault. Jason whirled on her, and the hatred in his eyes made her stagger back. If you'd just stayed away, if you hadn't bound yourself to him, Lily would be safe. The words hit like physical blows. That's enough, Aaron growled, his power crashing through the room like a tidal wave. Jason dropped to his knees, unable to withstand the alpha command. But the damage was done. Samantha's wolf whimpered, the guilt crushing. Lily was 19, bright and funny, with her whole life ahead of her. And now she was being held by people willing to kill to break Samantha's bond with Aaron. I need air, Samantha choked out, fleeing before anyone could stop her. She made it to the terrace before the sobs came, great heaving gasps that shook her entire body. The mountain air was cold, biting, but she welcomed the pain. It was something to focus on besides the knowledge that an innocent girl was suffering because of her. Samantha. She didn't turn at Aaron's voice. Couldn't face him. He's right, she said hollowly. This is my fault. If I'd never sent that text, if I'd just stayed in Silverpine and dealt with the humiliation, then you'd be broken and alone, and they'd have won anyway. Aaron's hand settled on her shoulders, warm and solid. This isn't on you. This is on whoever's been orchestrating this from the beginning. But Lily. We'll find her. Aaron turned Samantha to face him, his silver eyes blazing with determination. I have trackers, contacts in every territory, resources most alphas only dream of. We will find her and bring her home. And if we can't? Samantha's voice broke. What if they kill her? They won't. Aaron's certainty was absolute. Because she's leverage. They want to trade her for something. For me leaving you, Samantha realized. That's what the message meant. The bond dies, they want me to reject you. Aaron's expression went carefully blank. Yes. Then maybe I should. No. The word was final, unyielding. Don't even think it. A girl's life, Aaron. Samantha pulled away from him, anger and desperation warring in her chest. Lily didn't ask for this. She doesn't deserve to die because of some cosmic bond she has nothing to do with. And you don't deserve to sacrifice yourself for someone else's manipulation. Aaron's control finally cracked, his voice rising. Don't you see what they're doing? They're using your compassion, your guilt, to force you into exactly the position they want, isolated and vulnerable. So what, I'm supposed to just let her die? I'm supposed to find another way. Aaron's hands fisted at his sides. I'm supposed to be smart enough, strong enough, powerful enough to protect everyone. But apparently, I'm failing at that too. The raw pain in his voice stopped Samantha cold. Aaron. 15 years, he said quietly, the fight draining out of him. 15 years I've ruled alone because I was convinced I was too damaged for a mate. Then I found you, and for the first time in my life, I felt complete. Do you know what it's like to finally find what you've been missing, only to have someone try to tear it away? Samantha's heart cracked. I'm scared. So am I. Aaron's admission was barely a whisper. I'm terrified that I'll fail you. That I won't be fast enough, strong enough. That I'll lose you before I've even really had you. They stood in the cold mountain air, two souls bound by fate and tested by forces neither fully understood. Samantha's phone buzzed. She pulled it out with trembling hands, dread pooling in her stomach. Unknown number. She opened the message. A video file. Don't, Aaron warned, but Samantha was already pressing play. Lily Blackwood appeared on screen, bound to a chair, tears streaming down her face. Behind her stood a figure in shadows, face obscured. Samantha Whitlock, a distorted voice said. You have a choice. Reject your bond with the Alpha King publicly and completely, or Lily Blackwood dies. You have 24 hours. Choose wisely. The screen went black. Samantha's hands shook so badly she dropped the phone. Aaron caught it, his expression murderous as he watched the video again. We'll find her, he repeated, but this time uncertainty crept into his voice. What if we don't? Samantha looked up at him, tears blurring her vision. What if the only way to save her is to let you go? Aaron's silver eyes met hers, and in them, she saw everything she felt mirrored back, love, fear, desperation, and a grief so profound it had no name. Then you do what you have to do, he said finally, each word costing him. And I'll spend the rest of my life hunting down everyone responsible. Samantha had never felt more helpless in her life. Somewhere out there, Lily was terrified and alone. And Samantha had less than 24 hours to decide between saving a girl's life or keeping the mate she'd only just found. The bond with Aaron pulsed warm in her chest, a lifeline, a promise, a love she'd never expected. How could she possibly choose? Samantha didn't sleep. She spent the night pacing her suite, watching the clock tick down, her mind spinning through impossible scenarios. Every plan ended the same way: either Lily died, or she lost Aaron. There was no third option. Or was there? At 4 a.m., something clicked. Samantha pulled out her phone, scrolling back through every message, every threat, every piece of evidence they'd gathered. The professional photos. The burner phone. The coordinated attack on the safe house. The video of Lily. All of it pointed to someone with resources, connections, and intimate knowledge of PAC politics. But there was something else. Something that had been nagging at her since the beginning. The original message to Jason had said, "Make sure she's rejected so thoroughly that she'll never recover." Not killed. Not kidnapped. Rejected. Why did they specifically want her humiliated and broken rather than just eliminated? Samantha's wolf stirred, a growl building in her chest. Because a broken, rejected Samantha would be easy to manipulate. Easy to control. Easy to use against Aaron later. But a dead Samantha would only enrage the Alpha King and make him more dangerous. Which meant whoever was behind this needed her alive but compliant. Samantha grabbed her laptop, pulling up the PAC Alliance records Aaron had given her access to. She'd been looking at this all wrong. She'd been searching for enemies of the Alpha King, people who wanted his throne. But what if this wasn't about his throne at all? What if it was about her? She started a new search, filtering differently this time. Looking for PACs with connections to her bloodline, her mother's family, any old alliances or debts. And there it was. A notation from 26 years ago. Before Samantha was born. Her mother, Amy Whitlock née Thornhart, had been betrothed to another Alpha before meeting Samantha's father. The engagement had been broken suddenly, the reasons sealed by Alpha decree. The jilted Alpha's name, Aldrich Thornhart. Amy's cousin. Samantha's blood ran cold. She dug deeper, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Aldrich Thornhart had disappeared from PAC politics shortly after the broken engagement. Rumored to have gone rogue, building power in the shadows, amassing followers who believed the old ways were being lost. And 3 months ago, there had been whispers, unconfirmed reports of a rogue Alpha consolidating power in the Northern Territories. Someone charismatic enough to unite disparate PACs under a single banner. Someone with a vendetta. Samantha's hand shook as she put the pieces together. Aldrich wanted her mother. When he couldn't have Amy, he'd waited, planned, and now he wanted Amy's daughter, not as a mate, but as a symbol. Proof that he could take what had been denied him. Proof that he was stronger than the Alpha King himself. Breaking Samantha's bond with Aaron wasn't about weakening the Alpha King's power. It was about claiming Samantha for himself. She was up and running before the thought fully formed, racing through the silent hallways to Aaron's quarters. She pounded on his door, not caring about propriety or protocol. Aaron answered immediately, shirtless and alert, his eyes scanning for danger. "Samantha, what?" "I know who it is," she gasped. "I know why they want me broken." She pushed past him into his private study, pulling up the information on his computer. Aaron read over her shoulder, his body going rigid with each revelation. "Aldrich Thornhart," he breathed. "I've heard rumors. Rogue Alpha building an army in the north. But I didn't know about the connection to your mother." "My father probably sealed the records to protect her," Samantha said. "But Aldrich never forgot. And now he wants to finish what he started, claim a Thornhart woman, prove he's powerful enough to steal the Alpha King's mate." Aaron's hands clenched into fists. "He has Lily because he knew we'd be focused on saving her. But his real target has always been me," Samantha finished. "The rejection at the altar was supposed to break me, make me vulnerable. When I found you instead, he had to adapt. Now he's using Lily to force me to reject you publicly, which would damage me enough that That he could swoop in and claim you're under his protection, Aaron growled. Present himself as your savior from the cruel Alpha King who couldn't keep you safe. It's sick, Samantha whispered. But it makes sense. He doesn't want me dead. He wants me broken and dependent. Aaron turned to her, his silver eyes blazing. Which means Lily is still alive. He won't kill her because he needs her as leverage. And that gives us an opening. What kind of opening? A dangerous smile crossed Aaron's face. He expects you to reject me to save Lily. He expects you to be emotional, desperate, willing to sacrifice yourself. I am willing. I know. Aaron cupped her face gently. And that's exactly why we're going to use his expectations against him. You're going to give him what he wants. Samantha's heart stuttered. What? You're going to publicly reject our bond. Aaron's voice was steady despite the pain flickering in his eyes. You're going to do exactly what he demands. And when he reveals himself to claim you, you'll be waiting, Samantha breathed, understanding dawning. It's a trap. It's the only way to draw him out. Aaron's thumb brushed her cheekbone. But Samantha, you need to understand, publicly rejecting a true mate bond, even falsely, will hurt. It might even damage the bond temporarily. I don't care. Samantha's decision was instant, absolute. If it saves Lily and exposes Aldrich, I'll do it. You're sure? I'm sure. Samantha leaned into his touch, memorizing the feel of his hands on her skin. But Aaron, if something goes wrong, if the bond doesn't come back, it will. His certainty was ironclad. True mate bonds can't be broken by words spoken under duress. It might hurt, might feel severed for a while, but it will heal. We will heal. Promise me something, Samantha whispered. Anything. When this is over, when Lily's safe and Aldrich is dealt with, ask me again. Ask me to be yours when there's no coercion, no danger, no ulterior motives. Just us. Aaron's expression softened into something so tender it made her chest ache. Samantha Whitlock, when this is over, I'm going to court you properly. I'm going to earn you every single day. And when I finally ask you to be mine, you'll have absolutely no doubt that you're the only thing in this world I've ever truly wanted. He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. But right now, we need to plan. We have, he glanced at the clock, 19 hours to set this trap and save Lily. Samantha straightened, her wolf rising to meet the challenge. The scared, broken girl from the chapel was gone. In her place stood someone who'd been forged by betrayal and tempered by love. Then let's get to work. They spent the next hour coordinating with Aaron's most trusted guards, sending word to allied packs, preparing for every contingency. Jason was brought in, his eyes red-rimmed and desperate. We're going to save your sister, Samantha told him firmly. But I need you to trust me. What are you going to do? Something that's going to hurt both of us, Samantha admitted. But it's the only way. Understanding dawned in Jason's eyes, followed by gratitude so profound it was painful to witness. Thank you. Whatever happens, thank you for not giving up on her. As dawn broke over the mountains, Samantha stood on Aaron's terrace, preparing to make the most devastating announcement of her life. But this time, she wasn't alone. This time, she had the Alpha King at her back, a plan in motion, and the absolute certainty that she was fighting for something worth saving. Aldrich Thornhart wanted her broken? He was about to learn that Samantha Whitlock didn't break. She burned. And she was coming for him with the full force of the Alpha King's fury behind her. The rejection ceremony was broadcast live to every major pack in the Northwestern Territories. Samantha stood in Aaron's great hall, dressed in simple black, her hair pulled back severely. Every camera captured her pale face, the tremor in her hands, the devastating grief in her eyes. None of it was fake. Even knowing this was a trap didn't stop the agony of what she was about to do. Aaron stood across from her, his expression carved from stone. Only Samantha could see the muscle ticking in his jaw, the white-knuckled grip he had on his control. "I, Samantha Whitlock," she began, her voice carrying through the hall and across the airwaves, "formally reject the mate bond with Aaron Thorne, Alpha King of the Northwestern Territories." The bond flared hot and painful in her chest. "I reject this bond freely and completely," she continued, each word a knife to her own heart. "I claim my autonomy and sever all ties between us." Aaron's eyes flashed silver, his wolf raging just beneath the surface. "I, Aaron Thorne, accept your rejection." The bond screamed. Samantha gasped as pain lanced through her chest, white-hot and devastating. This wasn't supposed to hurt this much. Aaron had said it would ache, but this felt like her soul was being ripped in half. She stumbled, and Aaron moved instinctively to catch her before stopping himself. The cameras caught it all, the Alpha King reaching for his rejected mate, the agony on both their faces. "Perfect. The bond is severed," Samantha whispered, tears streaming down her face. Real tears. Because even though this was an act, the pain was horrifyingly genuine. "I am free." Silence filled the hall. Then her phone buzzed. "Unknown number, well done, little wolf. You've earned Lily's life. Come to the northern border crossing at Raven's Peak. Alone. 1 hour. Your new Alpha is waiting to claim what's his." Samantha's hand shook as she showed Aaron the message. His eyes scanned it once, twice, then he gave an almost imperceptible nod. The trap was set. 40 minutes later, Samantha stood at Raven's Peak, a desolate stretch of territory marking the border between civilized Packlands and the wild north. Snow had begun to fall, coating everything in white silence. She wasn't alone, though it appeared that way. Aaron's elite guards were positioned in the forest, invisible to anyone who didn't know where to look. Aaron himself was a shadow in the trees, his presence masked by sheer force of will. The bond between them felt muted, damaged, like a radio signal through static. It hurt to breathe. Movement in the treeline. A man emerged, and Samantha's wolf snarled with instant recognition even though she'd never seen him before. He was tall, dark-haired, with features that might have been handsome if they weren't twisted with obsession and entitlement. Aldrich Thornhart. Behind him, 2 guards dragged Lily forward. The girl was alive but bruised, terror evident in every line of her body. "Samantha Whitlock," Aldrich said, his voice smooth as poison. "You're even more beautiful than your mother was." Samantha's skin crawled. "Let Lily go." "I did what you asked." "You did." Aldrich's smile was predatory. "You rejected the Alpha King, just as instructed. Do you know why that pleases me so much? Because you're a psychopath with a grudge?" His laugh was genuine, delighted. "Because it proves you're strong. Amy was strong too, before your father broke her, turned her into a docile Pack Luna. But you," his eyes raked over her, "you have fire." "I have nothing for you," Samantha spat. "Release Lily, and I'll go peacefully." That was the deal. The deal has changed. Aldrich moved closer, and Samantha forced herself not to retreat. "You see, I've been watching you for months. Waiting for the right moment. When your bond with that pathetic Jason formed, I knew I had to break you before you completed it. A mated Thornhart woman would have been useless to me. So you terrorized Jason, destroyed my wedding." "I set you free," Aldrich corrected. "From a weak mate who never deserved you. And when you ran straight to the Alpha King, well, that was unexpected. But also perfect. Because now, when I claim you, everyone will know I stole you from the most powerful Alpha in the territories." Samantha's wolf bristled. "I'm not a trophy to be won." "No," Aldrich agreed, reaching out to touch her face. Samantha jerked back, and his expression darkened. "You're a legacy." "My legacy. Your mother should have been mine. You will be." "Never. You don't have a choice." Aldrich's hand shot out, gripping her arm hard enough to bruise. "You rejected your bond with Aaron. You're unclaimed, vulnerable. And according to pack law, any alpha can claim an unmated wolf through right of challenge. Samantha's blood ran cold. You want to fight Aaron? You'll lose. Will I? Aldrich's smile widened. I have 50 rogue wolves in these woods. Aaron might have elite guards, but he's outnumbered. And if he dies trying to reclaim what he already rejected, he shrugged, well, that solves my problem beautifully. You're insane. I'm patient. I'm strategic. And I've been planning this for 26 years. Aldrich pulled her closer, his breath hot against her ear. You're going to be mine, Samantha. Tonight. And everyone will watch as I complete the bond your mother denied me. Rage exploded through Samantha, hot and cleansing. You want to know the difference between you and Aaron, she said softly, dangerously. Aaron asked me to choose. You're trying to force me. And that makes you exactly the kind of weak alpha you claim to despise. Aldrich's eyes flashed with fury. His hand raised to strike her. And Aaron erupted from the shadows. The Alpha King moved like violence incarnate, his massive wolf form slamming into Aldrich with the force of an avalanche. They rolled across the snow in a tangle of teeth and claws, Aldrich's human form shifting mid-roll to meet the challenge. Chaos erupted. Rogue wolves poured from the forest, but Aaron's guards were ready. The sound of fighting filled the air, snarls, screams, the wet crunch of bone. Samantha. Lily's terrified voice cut through the mayhem. Samantha ran to the girl, dispatching her guards with brutal efficiency. Jason had taught her to fight, and Heartbreak had taught her to fight dirty. The rogues went down hard, and Samantha yanked Lily free of her bonds. Run. Samantha shoved Lily toward where she knew Aaron's guards were positioned. That way, don't stop. Lily fled, and Samantha turned back to the fight. Aaron and Aldrich were evenly matched, both powerful alphas, both fighting with everything they had. Blood stained the snow. Aldrich fought with the desperation of someone with nothing to lose. Aaron fought with the cold precision of someone protecting his mate. But Aldrich was getting in hits. Too many hits. Samantha felt each one through the damaged bond, felt Aaron's pain as her own. No. She shifted, her wolf form smaller than the male's but faster, more agile. She launched herself at Aldrich from the side, her teeth finding purchase in his shoulder. He roared, trying to shake her off, but Samantha held firm. It was the opening Aaron needed. The Alpha King's jaws closed around Aldrich's throat, the bite precise and devastating. Aldrich's struggles weakened, then stopped. When Aaron released him, Aldrich collapsed to the snow, gasping, defeated but alive. It's over, Aaron growled, his voice coming from his wolf form, deep and resonant. Surrender, and you'll face Alpha justice. Fight, and I end you here. Aldrich's laugh was wet, broken. You think this ends with me? There are others. Others who remember the old ways, who want. I don't care what they want. Aaron's silver eyes were merciless. They'll never touch her. Not while I breathe. Guards emerged, securing Aldrich and the remaining rogues. The fight was over. They'd won. Samantha shifted back to human form, not caring about her nakedness in the snow. All she cared about was reaching Aaron. He shifted too, and they collapsed into each other, both bloodied, both exhausted. The bond, Samantha gasped. Can you feel it? Yes, Aaron breathed, his forehead pressing against hers. Damaged but there. Still there. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry I had to. Don't. Aaron's hands framed her face. You were perfect. Brave and perfect and completely magnificent. Around them, guards secured the area. Someone threw a blanket over them. In the distance, Samantha could hear Lily crying with relief, Jason's voice soothing his sister. But all Samantha could focus on was the bond slowly, painfully, knitting itself back together. Like a broken bone healing, agonizing but necessary. Ask me, she whispered. Aaron's eyes widened. Now? We're covered in blood and snow, half our ribs are broken, and we just took down a psychopath obsessed with my mother. Samantha's laugh was slightly hysterical. If not now, when? Aaron's smile was brilliant, transforming his face into something beautiful and wild and completely hers. Samantha Whitlock, he said, his voice rough with emotion, will you be my mate? My true mate? My partner in all things? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that you're the best thing that's ever happened to me? The bond flared, bright and golden and unbreakably strong. Yes, Samantha breathed. Yes, always yes. Aaron kissed her there in the blood-stained snow, surrounded by guards and rogues and the ruins of Aldrich's plans. And for the first time since standing alone at that altar, Samantha felt completely, perfectly whole. 3 months later, Samantha stood in a different chapel. This one was built of glass and ancient wood, perched on Aaron's mountain estate with views that stretched forever. Sunlight poured through the windows, casting rainbow patterns across the stone floor. White flowers, real ones this time, fresh and alive, decorated every surface. But the biggest difference? This time, she wasn't alone. Claire had tried to reach out dozens of times, but Samantha had maintained her boundary. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven with simple apologies. Her father had visited twice, uncomfortable and formal, clearly unsure how to bridge the chasm that had opened between them. Samantha was working on forgiveness, but it was a slow process. Jason, surprisingly, had become something like a friend. The shared trauma of Aldrich's manipulation had created an unexpected bond between them. He stood now among the guests with Lily, who had recovered remarkably well, her resilience a testament to the Blackwood strength. You're sure about this? Dara asked, adjusting Samantha's veil with gentle hands. The older woman had become a mentor, a friend, something like the mother figure Samantha had always needed. I've never been more sure of anything, Samantha replied, and meant it. The dress was nothing like her first wedding gown. This one was simple, elegant, with long sleeves and a flowing skirt that made her feel powerful rather than displayed. She'd chosen it herself, no one else's opinions or expectations weighing on her. Music began to play, not traditional, but a haunting melody Aaron had commissioned specifically for this day. Samantha walked down the aisle alone. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. This wasn't about being given away or claimed. This was about choosing, freely and completely, to bind her life to someone